Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all smashing it. So in the last video we've done the EGR full delete on it, swirl flap delete, and replaced the filter and the glow plugs. So in this video we're going to be tackling the DPF downpipe delete. Obviously this is the 3-inch from Darkside Developments. It's got the reducer for the standard exhaust, so we're going to get this fitted today and then hopefully get the car mapped as soon as possible. So we've got the car jacked up and working from underneath. First of all, need to take the underbelly tray off, load of 8mm bolts. That'll give us access to the engine mount that we need to remove, and also the DPF on the exhaust side. So obviously we've got the car jacked up, the underbelly tray's off. I've got the engine support on just in case I do need to take the engine mount off. Now I'm going to have a go at seeing if I can do this without it, but I strongly think I do. So as you can see, we need to disconnect this, so undo that to remove the DPF. I've removed one of the sensors, but I'm struggling to get the other two sensors out. So obviously working from underneath the car, excuse the camera angle, this is where it clamps onto the rest of the exhaust, so that's going to need to be removed. And you've also got that bracket that needs to come off. So I'm hoping I don't have to remove this engine mount. Now to do that, basically you're working from inside the wheel arch to get rid of some of the bolts. That's why the wheel's off. So I'm going to see if I can maneuver this out, but I'm very skeptical that I'm going to be able to do this without removing the engine mount. So I've currently got the exhaust split. I don't think I'm going to have to take the whole exhaust off, but we'll see. I don't know whether it shows. Got all the brackets holding the DPF on the lower side off, and there is also, I don't know whether you can see it, just at the top there is another 13mm bolt. So I'm going to get that off. I've got it separated off the turbo, so we'll see if this will slide out, but I'm thinking that mount's going to have to come off. Right, so I've not filmed the whole process. There's a reason why, because this has been an absolute nightmare. Basically, engine mounts off with the bracket off the engine. To do that, I've had to remove that cover. 3 of the bolts aren't too bad, but one of the bolts, you've got to get to it through here. I ended up having to use a quarter drive with a flexi joint and another extension on the end. And that is to get to that bolt which is in there. Why they've designed it like this, I do not know. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but that was a nightmare. So those other 3 bolts aren't too bad, easy-ish access. That one is a nightmare. Don't know how I'm going to get it back in. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit easier with the DPF delete, but we'll just show you the underside. So, going under, as you can see now, there should be enough space to actually get this out. So I'm going to remove this and get the new DPF in, and then we'll struggle to get that bracket back on the engine. This is not an easy job. I can see why it costs a lot when you go to a garage. So there we go, DPF's out. Just got to remove one of these sensors to go back in the DPF delete, and hopefully we can start getting this back together. Right, so I've got that bolt back in. To be fair, it wasn't as bad as I thought. All I've had to do is basically tape up the end of the bolt and obviously take the socket to the extension bar. Make sure I get the bracket back in with that extension on, and then attach all the flexi and the rest of it through that little hole, and that has actually gone on reasonably easily. So I'd say the engine mount and the actual mount to the engine is all back on. So I've just got a couple more bolts to put in, and then we'll get the DPF in, get it all bolted up, and we can start getting all these covers back on. So hopefully I'll be getting it mapped tomorrow. Hi guys, so we've mocked up the darkside DPF delete just to see if it fits. Obviously with the reducer, this is too long and won't actually fit on to the standard exhaust. So unfortunately I'm going to have to cut a bit off. I'm a bit reluctant to do this, but it's the only way I think I can get it to fit. Now I presume what they've done is they've used the standard, obviously bend 45 degrees or whatever, welded it on and just welded more on than you need in case you're fitting it to a 3-inch exhaust. So I'm going to go ahead, cut this section off, otherwise there's no chance I'm going to fit this on. My exhaust is going to stick out, what, about 2 inches at the back, so let's get on with it. So let's see if this now fits. So we've finally got the DPF delete fitted. Obviously the oxygen sensor's gone in. You need your first temperature sensor and the second temperature sensor. I've basically spoken to my tuner. He says just tie it up out the way. So long as it's plugged in, there shouldn't be an issue. Now obviously we've had to do a bit of chopping on this. It does fit. I'll show you that from underneath. So this is it from underneath. As you can see, darkside DPF. That's all fitted. I've got the sensors in. I've just got these couple of bands to put on. Obviously you've got that one, then we've got the reducer into the standard exhaust. So we'll get all them clamped up, get the bottom trays back on, and hopefully it'll be ready for a remap. So we've finally got the DPF done. Sorry it was a bit of a short video, but it was an absolute nightmare doing that job. Also it wasn't the easiest to film because I was on my back for most of the time. I was shouting and cursing. All I will say as a quick recap, if you are doing the job, don't disconnect your DPF before you remove your engine mount, because obviously with that rattling around there's a bit of a weight and it makes everything 10 times harder. Now I did show on the video, I don't know who designed that engine mount, but that is a really bad design. The bottom lower bolt, that is situated inside the engine mount that actually bolts onto the engine, and is a nightmare to get to. I tried showing it in the video, but I basically had to put a short extension with the socket on and one of the flexi ends, locate that onto the bolt, basically doing that blind, feeling about to find it. Once that was on, then I had to feed the other extension bars through the cross member. There's a little hole, link them together, and that would allow me to undo it. Putting it back together wasn't too bad, in all fairness, with that out of the way. As you see, all I did was the reversal procedure basically, but I put a bit of tape around the end of the bolt on the extension for the one inside the arm. Now that just basically allowed me to line it all up and screw it in, knowing that obviously nothing, you know, the socket's not going to fall off the end of the bolt, and get that one tightened up. The other three, to be fair, aren't too bad. But yeah, definitely if you're doing that, don't loosen the DPF or try and remove the DPF beforehand. Just crack on with it, engine mount off, then start getting this out. I've got the car mapped today. I say this is the following day I'm doing the wrap up on this. Now we got that done by our mate Chris at CL Autos. So the car's gone from around about 231 horsepower to 285. Now that's about 369 pound per foot to 457 pound per foot, and about 506 newton meter standard to about 620. So on the drive home you certainly can feel the difference. There's quite a lot of traffic about, obviously the schools have gone back and stuff, so I couldn't really test it and I can't wait to do that with the draggy times. Now unfortunately I didn't manage to do the before draggy times because when I was doing it on Friday I went out but the draggy was flat, and I just needed to crack on with this. So unfortunately I have not got the before times, but we will certainly be doing the after times. Now a quick recap on the previous video. We've replaced the swirl flaps. Now these ones are a little bit coked up, but they're all moving freely. I don't think there's any danger of them snapping or anything like that, so I'm pretty happy with that. For 190,000 miles, I think the engine was relatively good, Nick. Probably had good oil changes and looked after. The only thing I did notice is your actual EGR. Now that is bunged up. Now this is why I always want to get rid of the EGR. I get for the emissions, I get that, but if the car's healthy and it's running right, you take it for an MOT, it's going to pass your emissions. It's normally only if you've got a leaking injector or faulty sensors, something like that, that you start chucking loads of black smoke out, and you know it'll fail on the emissions. But to look at the actual inlet, that's how bunged up it is. I don't know whether that shows on camera. See it from that side. Now if you actually look at that, can you see that in the light? That's probably blanking off about 30% of the inlet, so I'm glad I've got that done. The car should be breathing a lot healthier and should go a lot better, especially with the remap. So that's one reason I am also quite gutted we didn't do the before draggy times, but you know, that's just the way it goes. So I hope you like this video. I hope you're liking the content. Obviously we'll be bringing you a lot more. As always, like and subscribe, and we will definitely be catching you in the next video. See you later.